You are listening to the Gritty Podcast, where we talk about all things gritty. All right, welcome to the Gritty Podcast. I am your host, Brian Call. I got Brad Hunt behind the camera. Today we're going to climb a mountain. We're going to talk about climbing hills, steep hills, some of the equipment, gear, braces, things like that that might help you be better on climbing hills. I think climbing hills is an art, especially with a pack on. From trekking poles to the boot combo to like I'm going to go over it today, insoles, ankle braces, knee braces, things like that, MICROspikes. We have a whole slew of stuff that we've messed around with and used that kind of give you a little edge across the board. And today I'm going to go over that stuff. I'm no spring chicken, but I feel like I'm doing pretty good with the body and health. And so I think a lot of that is due to good biomechanics. I think I move well. I have good, efficient movement, flexibility, mobility, strength through full range of motion. And when I climb a hill, up or down, I have good, efficient movement that prevents me from getting injured, prevents wear and tear on my joints, my knees, especially my ankles, my calves, Achilles tendon, all those things. So I'm going to talk about that on today's show. Before we get into the show, I want to remind you that we have a huge giveaway going on with Stealthy Hunter right now. And as this podcast is going to be a little bit of a mix about climbing, hiking, and health and taking care of your body, it's perfect to talk about Stealthy Nutrition products. We leverage those a lot. If you go over there right now and use the code GRITTY, you'll get 10% off site-wide, but you also get entered to win a huge prize package. If you win the package, you get it's got a PSE bow, dozen arrows. You've got a Western Hunting Summit pass, which is like $1,600. Day six arrows. There's a whole slew of stuff that you get entered to win. And every time you order over there and spend some money, you get entered to win. So that's a cool thing. So if you like Ryan, you like what we do, use the code GRITTY over there. Support Ryan and Hillary as well. And the products over there are great. You can get CBD sleep gummies. You can get CBD gummies that are just good for overall joint and a reduction of inflammation of the body. Over there they have all the gut health products that I really rely on, like the immune probiotic is right up there, number one for me. They also have Digest Plus, and they have detox formulas. They have various things to help with your gut health. And all those things combined really go in, as you consume food and it goes into your gut, it breaks it down into little particles that then the body can then use those fatty acids and those proteins to heal and keep your brain functioning and your body functioning well. If you have really bad gut health, everything starts to fall apart across the board. So Ryan and Hillary aren't just there to produce some supplements that are, that make you feel good just on a, like, I do love my Mountain Ops Ignite, which is a nice pick-me-up, and you can use the code GRITTY over there too. But I also like Hillary and Ryan's stuff. She's a doctor. It's really focused on gut health. A strong emphasis there, and I think it's a way overlooked part of the medical space and the health and wellness space. So check that out. Use the code GRITTY. Let's get into the podcast. I've got my pack here. I'm going to show you the boots I'm wearing and just get into how I run them. So these are the new Crispy Laponia 2.0. Brad has the original Crispy Laponias on, and these boots, barely got them the other day, so I'm getting them worn in. They're a little different than the originals. Okay, the tread is a little bit, it seems like it's a little bit more than the original Laponia, but still, this is a lightweight boot. It's got a neoprene breathing. On a hot day like this, I want my feet to stay cool. Heat and moisture combined, friction leads to blistering, hot spots, and painful climbs. So what I've got right here is a fairly lightweight boot that breathes really well, but still gives me the stability I want. It's a good early season boot especially. Now, the 2.0 is a lot stiffer than the older Laponia first version, which feels more like a moccasin / boot. This one's a little stiffer, so some of you guys that wanted something just a little bit stiffer, this is it. It's really nice, but I'm going to pull this insole out, which really isn't much. It's just really a flat piece of I don't know what it is. It feels like cardboard, but there's not much to it at all. It has a nice breathable bed, but it's really not much to it. And I'm going to replace it with my sheep feet insoles, and these insoles are custom built to my foot. So what I did is I worked with Sheep Feet. They took an impression of my foot and they built this custom orthotic, and that's what this is. It's a custom orthotic for Brian Call. I'm going to slip this in the boot. Now, typically I would wear a size 10.5 boot, but I bought myself because I love these Sheep Feet insoles and they take up a little more room. Bought myself a size 11, so I went one size up in the boot. So I've got an 11 here and it's an 11 wide because I have a pretty wide foot. And also, because I'm going to get into this later, I like to run an ankle brace when I feel the need to, especially when my pack exceeds 80, 90 pounds and it's really steep. I feel like I might get injured. It's a little risky. I'll take this brace and I'll put it on to prevent injury, to give me that stability, extra stability that I want on climbs. Boots themselves, like the Crispy has the ankle brace support system, the ABSS, built into it. Certain models anyway. The Laponia does not have it, and a lot of the lighter weight breathable boots don't have that built-in ABSS system that Crispy has. Also, if you do have that system, you got to have your boots pretty laced up tight so that the system can then keep your ankle stable. And it does work. I've not sprained my ankle wearing one of those. But my ankle does strain a lot, and I broke this left ankle a couple of times in high school and college. Broke the bones, ripped the ligaments clean off. So I have a pretty bad ankle from sports when I was younger. So when I wear a brace like this Sweeto Universal is an excellent brace. I can't recommend it enough. It's so much better than any other brace I've ever tried, and I've tried them all. When I have this brace on and a wide boot with my Sheep Feet insole, I have like an incredibly comfortable and stable platform, and I have never in my life hurt my ankle with this brace on. It's been impossible. With this brace on, I haven't hurt myself. If you are recovering from a sprained ankle or anything like that, it can really end your trip quick. So I like this combination. So that's how I've worked out my system. And I also don't want my boots to always be really tight. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. I want my boots to be however I feel like lacing them. Sometimes my feet swell up a little from lots of hiking, 10, 20 mile day. That'll get me. Well, that's where I can loosen or tighten the boot. Well, with the ankle brace, again, it's more customizable. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this insole out right here and put my Sheep Feet in here. Okay, so now I've got my Sheep Feet insoles in my new 2.0s, and then I'm going to throw the ankle brace on the left ankle, which is the ankle that I sprained pretty bad a couple years back, and I have a real painful ligament back here that sometimes gets fired up, and especially if I'm on a steep hill and I'm side hilling, and I sprained it by rolling the ankle outward to the left on my left ankle. So if I'm on a side hill where the slope makes my ankle roll where it's been sprained, it's tough because the ankle just wants to go, and once it turns over, the ligaments are just so bad that it can sprain. So here's my ankle brace. Got it on here. Some people said they went and got a brace like this, and they're like, Brian, it's too bulky. Well, that's why I went with a wide boot, and also it will get less bulky as you wear it. It will conform to your foot. I used these all in college when I played basketball. When I played in high school, I used the brace, and it's an excellent brace. I use Mueller and other brands, and they're even more bulky, and they don't provide the support. Now, some guys don't have any problems with ankles. They just don't. Well, this part of the podcast really isn't for you. But if you got some knee problems, hold on tight, because we're going to get into that. So I'm just going to lace this up how I would for like a basketball game. Get this kind of, where I like to, and I've messed around with it so much throughout my life that I kind of know right where I want it. So, and you can play with the lacing. I think lacing boots, lacing ankle braces, all of that is, again, kind of an art. You'll get better at it as you do it. And you'll kind of figure out, oh, that feels good, that's too tight, and whatever. But doing this for a month or two before you go on your big hunts, super beneficial. So I'm going to throw the boot back on. That's super comfortable right there. I got the ankle brace, I got the sheep feet insole, and that insole just cups my foot just right. It's pretty sweet the way that insole works. It just provides a lot more stability in my boot as it supports my foot right where I want it. Now, the 2.0 has these locks right here on the boot, which allow you to lock in your lacing from here up, and then kind of customize your lacing from the middle of the ankle upward. So what I like to do if I'm going up and down steep hills is I want the toe lacing to be a little tighter, and that's where this crispy Laponia, look how far down the lacing comes. This enables us to get a nice tight lacing up on the toe box right here, so your foot is supported, so that when the lacing comes across here and the front of your boot is there, it straps in my foot so my toes don't smash into the front of the boot on a steep downhill. That's what this sort of mountaineering style is great for. So I'm going to tighten this toe box up a little bit here, and then lace these things up. Okay, so I got that pretty tight how I like it. I can feel it giving me that support. Now on the middle section of my foot, I don't like it to be very tight. Once I get past the toe box here, this next part I don't like to have tight across the ridge of my foot. So it's just nice and comfortable, and I'm going to lock it in. Now it's locked. And so it's tight across here, but then it's kind of loose right here. And I got blood vessels and thin skin right here. And this part of my foot, if I cinch it down too tight, I lose a little blood flow. And then I get pain in my feet. I don't like that. So I've got it laced right here across the toes. This part's a little bit more loose. And now I have locked in right here. All the lacing is locked from there down. Okay, now right here, I'm just going to give it a little snug. In this first section, the first eye hook right here, I'm going to do a little bit snug, and then the top hook, I bend my toes toward me, and I go ahead and put some flex in it. Instead of being down like this, I put it like this, because I find that if I settle right in there, and sometimes I'll do it while I'm standing. Now I feel like I've got my boot. It's kind of loose right here, tighter here, loose here, tighter there. And you look, this is what I have figured out is real comfortable for me. Lacing a boot is, and I might change it as I go, but lacing a boot is kind of an art that I think a lot of people just pull them tight and go. And there's actually a lot of guys will actually skip sections. They'll completely skip lacing, for example, here or this spot. They'll bypass it entirely to get a more comfortable fit. Some guys, they need it, they want it sucked in tight right across their ankle, and then they'll go loose on the upper. So it really is a something you need to mess around with to see what works. But lacing a boot is more complicated, more nuanced than than people think. So I got it about how I like it. I'm going to lock it in there, get the toe box tight, middle section a little less so. That feels great. Now I'm going to lock it in right there. Okay, situate upper half of the boot. Okay, I don't pull, once I have that lower portion, I don't pull too tight. I don't like this section super tight. But this first eye loop I do snug up quite a bit. And then like I said, the top one I don't. I put that little bend in my ankle there, pull my toes toward me, and then I lace it and tighten it. And that gives me that movement here that I like while still giving me the support below. So I got an ankle brace on the left ankle because it's my left ankle and it's got problems. Right one, I'm all good. And so we're going to go ahead and load up the pack here. And I'm going to talk about these knee braces a little bit later when we're on top of the hill. And I don't really need them. I have always had really strong knees. But I know for doing super heavy lifts and for my dad's had some knee pain. He's been running these. I've been testing them. My right knee was giving me a little trouble over the past month. And this brand, and I talked to a bunch of CrossFitters and buddies of mine and super fit guys. What are you guys using? This is what they talked about. So I'm going to talk about those as well as we climb up this hill. So we got the MICROspikes as well. We'll get into those in just a minute. I got my 45-pound plate that I use for weightlifting, and I'm gonna throw that on this pack, on this initial ascent board. Get a little exercise as we climb up this hill. I do love how this pack works for this. That's another discussion. So throw this on, and then we'll get on the hill. All right, we're on the mountain. We've just started the ascent, but I'm going to go ahead and talk about climbing a hill with a pack on. One of the first things that I think guys don't consider when they're hiking up or down a hill is they don't mess with their trekking poles. When I go uphill, I want to leverage as much as I can, and Lampers and I, we do like to use them as like a cane. You can grab them down here. Some guys like to put their wrist through here like this and then use the pole. It gives them, they don't have to use as much grip strength. They can use this leverage here to sort of reduce fatigue. So there's different ways you can use your trekker. We tend to enjoy using them on the tops like this. I like the Peaks design because it lets us, it's one of the reasons why we went with this design, is because then we can grab it like so and we use it to climb. So for me, I want the pole shorter for this, for going uphill. I want it somewhere like this. I want to push down on it like a cane almost. And you'll see us do that quite a bit in videos. So I'll lengthen the poles or shorten the poles for going uphill. That's one of the first things that I do going uphill. The next thing, a lot of guys, if you're climbing a lot of hills and your pack is really heavy, I think you want to take it easy on your Achilles and your calf muscles, because those can just burn out real quick under the loads. Your knees and your quads are a lot stronger than your calf muscles, the Achilles. So what I don't do typically, unless I'm in a hurry and I'm running up a hill to chase an animal, I don't go up on my toes like this when I climb. A lot of guys will do this. The reason they do it mostly is because they don't have the mobility to have their heel touch. They can't go all the way like this if they wanted to, because they don't have the flexibility in their Achilles, in their calf muscle to do it. So up like this is going to burn a guy out real quick. It's going to make him real tired over time. You don't want to climb like that for very long. Now, if I'm running up a hill like this, trying to get up after an elk or something, then yeah, sure, I'll do that. But for 60, 70 pounds, sometimes 85 pounds, On an uphill, a day of that is going to smoke my calf muscles, knot them up, make them real prone to injury later in the week. So again, heel down. Now this still isn't optimal. If my heel is down like this, it's better than when a guy is up on his toes. It's better. Hopefully Brad is filming this where you see I have plenty of mobility down here. My heels feel super comfortable. I'm not straining at all. My calf muscle isn't pulling. The steeper the grade though, when it gets real steep, like so, that's putting some pressure on the back of my calf muscle, back of my knee right here, because it's so steep. So again, a lot of guys will compensate by going like this. That's gonna ruin your day. So when you're climbing a steep hill like this, we often like to go sideways. That way we're using our quads, our hamstrings, our glutes. We're not using the muscles below the knee as much. We're not straining the calf and the Achilles and all of that. So I'll demonstrate that right here. So I'll kind of use the edge of my boot like this, right? Mostly almost flat. And I'll come up like so, and I'll hike sideways, kind of like this, right? Where my ankles or my Achilles is real flat, okay? And I'm just going up the hill, and then I'll switch. Right here, I'll switch to this side, and here we go again, using the edge of the boot as traction, and I'll go up the hill, sideways. And the whole time I'm using my trekking poles, kind of like a cane. And this way, see if we can find some more open grass. This way, I put way less fatigue on the Achilles, on the calf muscles. Okay, put it more square. It's more like going up a flat staircase. So that's for the uphill, okay? Make sense, Brad?
Yeah.
Brad brought up a point here, like if I'm coming up a hill, I'm using the trekking poles like a four-legged animal, four-wheel drive. So I'm using my upper body and the lower body. So a lot of times, if you're in a hurry, a lot of guys will, like I like to have pull on either side. My left leg is forward, okay? I'm going to transfer my weight to my left leg, but I'm stabilizing with these poles on the side, right? So as I transfer my weight up, I am putting all my weight on one leg as I shift, but I also have some of the weight on this pole and some of the weight on this pole, and all the stabilization muscles aren't completely reliant on my left leg, which uses so much more calories and energy. On the poles, being down like so, get them stable, shift my weight, boom. Move the poles, shift my weight. Move the poles, shift my weight. And it might sound for some guys like intuitive or, oh yeah, I've been doing that forever. But I'm surprised when I watch guys climb hills how inefficient their technique is. And there is a technique. So I think that kind of covers the uphill portion. Now, a lot of guys, they don't get injured on the uphill. It's the downhill that gets them. Almost always, it's the downhill. They'll get strained. They'll get a calf strain. They'll get pain behind their knees. They'll get hot feet. They'll get some pain from going uphill, strain. But downhill is where the acute catastrophic injury occurs, especially when you got like 100-pound pack and you're carrying out a heavy meat load or whatever. This is where guys get injured usually, is on the downhill. So we'll talk about that here. As we go downhill, again, it's the poles. Fix the poles. Get them the right length for a downhill descent. Don't keep them the same length that you use for the climb up. A lot of times, if I'm going on a side hill, I customize the poles. So I get the pole in the left hand. If I'm going side hill like this on a trail, I'm going to get this pole real short for the uphill side. See how I have it now as a cane? And this one is the same. I even like it a little shorter here. So here we have these poles. They're evenly about the same height. Okay, as I come across, I'm going here, here. I have a lot of stability as these are acting as like canes. Okay, and you can adjust the height based on what you need, what you like. And as you side hill, again, I'm using the poles to stabilize myself as I take the weight off my legs as I move across a hillside. But the trick was I changed the length of the pole. You can see how treacherous it is if I'm trying to do this with this pole being as short as it is. Whereas this up here, I got all that stability right there. So if I'm going to go downhill, not side hill, I'm going to go ahead and match these poles up so they have the same, so they're about the same length, okay? So here we are with these trekkers, okay, about the same length. And now, as I come down the hill, okay, I'm not reaching with this little pole that's too short. In fact, I probably want to raise this one up a little bit. Okay, I got this pole down here. I got this longer reach to get me stable as I then move my body downward. And I get the stability out here with the poles, and now I'm moving downward. Stability with the poles, moving downward. Okay. Now, another thing I see with heavy packs, you know, it's not ideal stability-wise to have your toes pointed forward like this, coming downhill. This is how you go whoop and slip, okay? Especially if it's really steep, okay? It's a lot more stable to come down like this. Get a nice secure footing here, coming down. Nice secure footing. Coming down, move my poles, get my footing, coming down, one step at a time. Poles, footing, down, okay? Pick your way through carefully, you know. My dad's getting ready to come on this hunt with us, and we've been talking about this kind of stuff because he's got old knees, he's upper 60s, and it's getting important for him to, you know, come down these hills safely. So, well, I might switch this around so I'm on this side coming down. Again, I am using the poles to establish stability, and then once I get them set, then I'm coming down like so. And I'm coming down sideways. Not so much like this. This is a recipe for falling on your back, especially with a heavy load, and just slipping like this, right? We don't want that. So, again, you're a lot better off going down like so. Now, this is where, let's talk about knees over ankles and toes. Because when you come down like this, see how my knees come forward over my ankles and over my toes? This puts a lot of pressure on the knee right here. This is similar to a one-legged squat, okay? Where you're like this, and see how my ankle is back and my knee is forward, okay? A one-legged squat puts a lot of pressure on the knee. If you keep your weight, if you keep your knees back behind your ankles, it's much easier on your knees. I like a one-legged squat. I love a one-legged squat. I think the more you could do something like that, the less injury prone you would be, because it's hard to avoid falling down in a way where your knees come forward like this, or you slip and you're on one leg come, you catch yourself here. A lot of guys slip, fall down like this, and they don't have this kind of mobility. This is why I work on one-legged squats, is so that when I am down in this position or I slip, I just collapse on one knee, one foot, get myself back up. If you can't do a one-legged squat without a lot of pain, well, what are you going to do when you slip? You're just going to rip something. So, but let's say your one-legged squat isn't there. You don't have a lot of that mobility, that stability. When your knees come out over your toes, this is where you're in a weakened position, coming down like this. So the idea is keep your shins as vertical as possible. Keep your knees back behind your ankles as you descend. Don't do this. Do this. Like you're sitting in a chair. Don't do this. Don't come forward. Do this. You see how my knees are back? You see that, Brad?
Yep.
Knees are back. They're behind. They're up. So when I'm down here like this is a lot more stable than this. This even hurts my knees with a heavy pack. Like I got the weight in here. This is tough. Ugh, that's tough. Really tough, especially because my right knee is bugging me. But if I come down like this, see how my knees are back? That's easy. That's pretty easy, even with the load. So, as you're coming downhill, don't knee bend forward. Cock your hips back, stick that butt out, keep your knees back. So, this would be hard going down straight like this, although we do it. The idea would be, like I said before, go down more sideways, okay? I'm gonna set the poles, stabilize, and then I'm cocking my hips back, and I'm keeping this shin vertical. See this trekking pole? As I come down, I'm going down like this, okay? So it's here, I'm cocking my hips back. See how far back my butt is? My legs? As I come down, I'm kind of stepping backward almost. I'm trying to keep that knee from going over my toes, over my ankle. If I switch sides, so you can see it here, okay? Coming down, I'm coming down like this. My knee has not gone really far over my toes, okay? I'm coming down sideways like so. And this is a lot safer than this stuff where the knee is way out over the toes, and I see guys doing this, especially downhill like this. This is really hard on your knees under load if you haven't built up. And even if you have, it's just not a good movement like this. This knee bending thing, and a lot of times guys recruit their knees like this because they don't have the strength and the flexibility in their hips. They can't do a squat. So again, it's down like so. Keep that knee from bending too far forward. And so as I climb down hills with heavy loads, I do this all the time. I keep my knee back. I keep my knee in a real stable position. I'm using my glutes and hams and my hip muscle, and this muscle's a lot bigger back here in your ass than this muscle around here. I'm already asking my knees to do a lot. So I'm gonna do it like this. I'm gonna come down mountain like that. Instead of being completely upright and bending my knees where I'm compromising, especially down front. So that's the downhill technique where, again, I try to keep those knees, those shins vertical and those knees behind the ankles. The less I can put my knees over toes, the better movement I'm getting and the more stable the whole system is. So what would help with that are some squats. If you do some moderately heavy squats, let's say kick out a little spot here, try to get a little bit of a level spot. When I'm in a squat position, my toes are forward like this, okay? A good squat would look something like this. A good squat, first I'll show you what a good squat doesn't look like. A bad squat looks like this. You come down and the first thing a guy does is they start to go down is bend their knees. Boom, they bend their knees. That's really a knee bend. They come down to do a squat and they go like this. Oh, and they bend their knee. Oh, I cringe. They're not using any of their glutes, hams, adductors. None of those muscles are being recruited, which are far better than your muscles around your knees. So a good squat, rather than a knee bend like that, bending at the knees, my knees aren't bent yet. I bend at the hips, at the butt, and I come down like this, okay? My knees come out. See how my knees have not gone forward? My knees are back, my knees are back, my knees are back. Okay, a lot of guys, you won't have the muscle to do this. My knees are back, my knees are back, my knees are back. I didn't...
Do it again and let me get how you kick them out.
Okay.
Forward.
As I come down, my toes are straight forward. I'm not duck-footed. Okay. Feet are forward. I come down. My knees are back. My knees are back. My knees are back. And I have good adductor strength. And so which is just your, what do you call that? Your adductor is your groin. So come down like this. I'm in a good squat position, really stable. And as I come up, again, my butt is coming up. My knees are back. Knees are back. Knees are back. Okay, when you get good strength in the hips, hip flexors, glutes, the hams and all of that, the groin, you can move more efficiently and not be damaging your knees. But a lot of people have lost this strength up in here. So what I would recommend, if it's hard for you to keep your knees back, I would recommend you go and research a box squat. Work on box squats, various styles, and try to find your ass again. How to engage it, how to use it, how to get it to work, how to get your groin to work, how to get some of that flexibility back. Because all the downhill stuff I do with a heavy pack is heavily reliant on the movement I'm talking about here, which is a squat. Like I said, knees are back, out, boom. I'm in my hips are open. I could sit like this for a long time. This is under load as well, okay? And then as I come back up, again, my butt and my hamstrings and my glutes and my groin, all of this is what's hard as a rock and flexing. My knees aren't hardly doing anything, okay? So the downhill is simply the same form. Knees stay back, and I'm coming down like so. It's kind of like a one-legged version of it, where I come down. It's kind of that same squat. My knees are back. I'm using my ass and my groin and my posterior chain to stabilize that downhill movement. Okay, so I hope that's helpful. Another thing that we might discuss real quick on this topic is, slipping is, that's when you get hurt a lot of times. And something that we've been using for a long time, it might shock you as well, is we use, even on this terrain now, it gets real steep on this slope, where Brad and I are demonstrating this stuff. It's not quite as steep, but it gets worse. Check this out. I've got in my pack here a couple of things I want to break out and kind of go over. Okay. One are these knee sleeves, okay? These things are pretty darn nice if you have sore or weak knees. I don't know the mechanics, or I don't know quite why they work. I just know that they do work. So my right knee has been a little bit tender, and I'm trying to build back that strength. I can do a one-legged squat with some support, like something to hold on to with it, but I can't do it free. Like my left leg, I can crank out tons of them. So I think I hurt the quad tendon, comes across. I got a little bit of like what they call runner's knee type thing. So some of that's my hips, but I'm working on it. In the meantime though, I can run a sleeve like this, okay? This knee sleeve, like that. And I can give myself a little bit of warmth, kind of holds the knee in place. A lot of high-level athletes will use these, okay? And it's like a scaled exercise. I'm a big fan of scaled exercise because right now my knee isn't quite strong enough to do the descent, okay? It's not quite strong enough to do the descent right now without some degree of pain if I go through full range of motion. But I want to go through full range of motion as I sort of build back the strength I want in that knee. So now with the knee sleeve on, I may not wear it all day long, but let's say I kill something and now I'm going to come downhill. As I climb downhill, I'm going to throw that thing on. Same with my ankle brace. Maybe I didn't run it, but now that I have the heavy pack and I'm going downhill, I throw on a knee pad. Okay. Now I'm back here doing the same thing I was before. Okay. Now I have a knee sleeve on. I mean, that feels so much better, amazingly better. So I come down here. I could probably do a pretty good one-legged squat there. So a little bit of assistance. Whereas with this leg, you can see, like, I got all the normal strength. Something has gone wrong in here. And it sucks, but I'll get it back. It's just going to take a little bit of time, the right supplements, and the right exercise. In the meantime, I'm gonna take care of it a little more. Meaning I'm gonna give it more of support than I normally would. So I might hike with this if it's feeling a little stiff. If I'm coming downhill, throw it on. Don't need it with my left, but right now, maybe you're a little older, maybe your knees are a little damaged. Get yourself some knee sleeves. They even feel good on the uphill. I talked to a few guys that do a lot of, heavy squats, heavy load carrying. They're like, man, I wish I had started using a knee sleeve a lot younger, 10 years ago. So you can, it's great to exercise and have the strength without it. But when we're out there hiking for 2 or 3 weeks, chasing animals and bulls and going hardcore, that isn't a normal level of activity. You're asking your knee to do a lot. Same with my ankle, right? So by throwing on some knee sleeves, you might find that you have some intense relief. You feel a lot more stable hiking, climbing, walking than you do right now. Now, these are Red Band. I got them at Rogue. These things are, you got to get the right size. I got a size, my first size was too big and just didn't give me the support. Got this size, it's perfect. My dad fits the bigger size, and he has those, and he can't believe how good it feels just to walk around the house, climb some hills, go for some hikes. He's like, oh my gosh. So these are a great addition. I don't like any extra weight to bring in my bag, but you can't argue, like, sometimes you just need that. I don't want to pack an ankle brace, but these things can really change your experience, help you go a lot further, be a lot safer. And then eventually, as you get stronger with them, you get stronger without them. You can stop using them so much. But they're not a crutch unless you make them that way. Unless you just use them all the time, every time, no matter what. I recommend right now you use them a lot at first. If you have knees that don't feel really strong, if you're not good at a full squat, man, when you put a heavy pack on and you're carrying out meat, that's when guys come home and they're like, oh, I tore a meniscus, or I did this, or I did that. And most of that could be prevented with a little bit better movement patterns, I should say. The last thing I want to talk about, again, back to slipping and falling. Especially if you're older, you're not as stable as you'd like to be, but you still want to get after it in these big mountains, on these big trails. Well, one of the things you can do, like I said, you got the ankle braces to help with those ankles. I like the sheep beat. I like this. I mean, the stability I have is ridiculous with the ankle brace and the boot the way that it is. I mean, it's just the side hill with a heavy pack. Again, my left ankle rolls outward. This is a steep side hill. No problem. With the ankle brace, the sheep feet insole orthotic, which gives me that real solid stability in the boot. Man, I could go side hill forever. It doesn't twinge or hurt that ligament that's normally tender, okay? Ankle brace is huge. Knee pad's huge. The final thing to talk about is these nifty, handy, oh crap, where are they, Brad? Here they are. these nifty, handy Catula MICROspikes. I know that we talk about using these in icy conditions, in the snow, or often in the mud and wet grass, okay? Now, if you take a Catula MICRospike, I wear the large, and let me throw it on top of this, on this crispy Laponia 2.0, my favorite boot. Well, I like the Laponia 1. I think I'm going to like this boot a lot. It's very, very similar. It feels great. But here we have the MICRospike attached, okay? Just goes on like so. I know we've talked about how we use it in grassy country. Not necessarily have we talked about this September or August muley type hunt, how much these might help you. It's unbelievable how much they help you. It's unbelievable. Even if you have a great soul, unbelievable. Okay. You throw these things on like this. Okay. I cannot emphasize enough how stable this, like, I am not going to slip on these rocks. It's tough. So you come down like so. You're an older guy, or you're just a little shaky in the knees, throw on these MICRospikes, man. And it's like, wow, I am not falling at all. It's like unbelievable how grippy they are in this loose gravel, loose rock. When you're hunting places like Hell's Canyon, some of the steep country we're in, consider these in early season. As I've been hiking this hill each morning on my way to get in shape for this season. And then you're like in four-wheel drive when you go uphill. Especially as it gets real steep up here, I really do not have to work. I use far less muscle to climb because my foot does not even, it just grips. It just grips. And so as I climb uphill, I really don't have to do much, where when it gets real steep and dusty on some of these steeps, and it's just like my boot wants to, it just slides and slides, and every time you take a step or two up, you're like sliding back down, and you're coming out with a heavy pack, and you're using so many muscles to keep yourself from sliding. And then you throw these MICRospikes on, and it's like, you just start motoring up these mountains, and you're like, man, wish I had used these 10 years ago. So I think that's something you ought to consider, especially if you're older and you're struggling with stability and you don't want to get injured. These are an excellent injury prevention device. And then, heck, man, if you don't need them, you can just pull them off. But I can already tell, just standing here like this, major loss of stability. They really are pretty handy. Again, the weight penalty sucks. The knee sleeves, the ankle braces are just little extra weights here that us lightweight backpackers would like to leave home. But we're not just hiking on day packs or the Pacific Crest Trail. We're not these REI trail hikers. We're out killing animals. We're carrying bows and weapons, bullets, a lot of extra weight, binos, binocular setups, optics. We have heavier loads, and we're off trail a lot more. And when you kill something and you got to haul it out, all that support and stability could be the difference between you not getting injured, being able to hunt well into your old age, or getting you back on the mountain when you're right now feeling like you don't have the body you need to do it. So consider these tools, these techniques for your future hike. Get yourself some trekking poles. I love these poles. You can get them at Peaks. Peaks is a good partner of ours. And you use the code GRIDDY, you get a discount on these. But whether you get these poles or a different set of poles, just get some. And before we close out, huge sale going on over at Go Hunt. We have a huge giveaway. You can win a bow, arrows, $500 gift card to the Go Hunt shop. When you buy the maps, you get a $20 credit to the store So the maps are normally $50 with the Explorer membership. You can get the maps for $30. Because essentially you get that $20 gift card for the Go Hunt Gear Shop. This giveaway is going on for just 2 weeks. You get 10% off site-wide. So, man, you get more entries if you get a membership. If you get the Insider, you get like 50 entries. You get 25 entries to the contest for the giveaway if you get the maps. But you get 1 entry per every $25 you spend at the gear shop. And that's how that works. It's a fun thing that we're doing with Go Hunt. Go on over there and use the code GRIDDY over there, and you'll be entered to win, and it helps us out, and you get some deals. You can find over there a lot of the gear that we are using from all our backpacking gear. There's a little bit of everything over there, and I can't recommend that enough. So I got the knee sleeves at Rogue. I like that brand. I'll put some links to that stuff in the description field of this video. The Catula MICROspikes. Well, Brad will do it. Brad will put links in to the stuff I talked about. The Sweeto Universal braces, all those things. We'll just put them in the description field so you know exactly the ones that we're talking about that we like. And then always in the description field, all our partners. Graxol with the game bags, Peaks. We got Heather's Choice. We got a bunch of stuff for all your backpacking needs over there. So check out those deals and discounts. And we thank you for tuning in and for following us and supporting what we do. And good luck to y'all this season. Stay gritty.